When I was growing up, nobody really knew what Korea was. Because in America, Chinese food is popular, Japanese anime is popular. I kind of felt like I wanted to be Japanese or Chinese. I was like,
of course, when you hear it now, it sounds super ignorant, which it is. Hey, are you Chinese or Asian? People call me like Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee. 안녕하세요, 저는 데이비드입니다. I'm from San Diego, California.
Sawadee-krap. My name is Prescott Donovan. I'm from Boston, USA.
Oh, you're half Korean, right?
My dad is American with European descent, and my mother, she is Korean. So yes, I am half Korean, half white.
My mom is Korean genetically. Inside, she is so white. Starbucks drinking, hot yoga doing white. Dad is great white, like pretty, it's the most white you can get, I think.
You just came to Korea like so much time later.
The thing about Korea is it's super small, closed-off society, a little xenophobic, which means kind of scared of like foreign people. But the thing about being half Korean is, I feel like we get like better reception than other foreigners. Even though I didn't speak Korean, Koreans still treat me as more friendly, which is, it's a good and bad thing, but I personally enjoy that perk of being half Korean.
Good attention is good attention. Where I grew up, I wasn't surrounded by Korean culture. So when I came to Korea, it was like going to a totally foreign country for me. I didn't know anything about Korea, even though my mom is Korean. And of course, I'd have emos and I'd have some Korean food. I didn't know anything.
You know what? Growing up in America, I did the sebes. I ate myeokguk a lot. Every week we go to my harmony's house. She makes myeokguk and dokguk, and she makes panchan. Like she makes like koji panchan. She gets the watermelon kopdegi or mindore. Like she's a professor because she grew up in the Korean War. I have some emos here in Korea that they came to visit one time, so I thought I was kind of Korean. I thought I was a little Korean. I'm like,
half of you is.
I'm Korean. When I go to Korea, I'll just adapt easily. I came to Korea, it's completely foreign. Like
completely different.
when I first came, I didn't understand the country at all. I understand a little better now, but I realized I'm like completely American.
Oh, that reminds me, yeah. I didn't even know it was a cultural or Korean thing. Growing up, my friends loved coming to my house. You would have to take off your shoes in the Robin household, you know?
That's just sensible.
But the thing is, most of my friends, they don't take off their shoes in the house.
That's gross,
So
man.
when my friends came home, they'd be like, why are you taking off your shoes? And I'd be like, not everybody
I
does
thought
that."
everybody did that. Why don't you? That's just unhygienic.
And then my friends would go on my bed, and I would see my mom come in the room, and she'd be like, "Omo, omo, 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 omo." And then
So
later,
Korean.
I didn't even know what "omo, omo, omo" meant. I thought my mom just had like a weird, she just said weird things, and she'd be like, come to the corner, she'd be like, tell him to take off his shoes right now. And I was like, okay.
That's so Korean. My mom is Korean genetically. She was born in the US. She'd just come in and be like, hey, you gotta take your shoes off and go downstairs. I noticed the difference. My grandma has the mindset, you have to go to like Harvard and graduate and become a doctor, and that's how you achieve success. My mom told me and my brothers in our generation, just do whatever you want as long as it makes you happy. So I can see the switch from Korean mindset, you know, get a good education, get a high paying job, to my mom just like, don't die, just do whatever.
Your mom speaks fluent Korean, right?
한국말 잘 못해요. But I finally went home because I was really excited to speak to my mom in Korean, right? But the thing is, when I first came to Korea, my first year, 처음에 왔을 때, I learned Korean from like my 초등학생들 and like my girlfriend at that time. Very like feminine. 진짜? 진짜? Like that, you know? So I finally went home and I was so excited to speak to my mom in Korean. I'm like, 안녕하세요, 엄마. And she'd be like, why do you sound like a little girl? I love trying to speak Korean to my mom now because it's the first time in my life. Yeah.
You have siblings?
I do. I'm the baby. I'm the 막내, man. I got an older brother and an older sister. 엄마, 안녕하십니까? 사랑한 아들이에요? 보고 싶어요? 당연하지. 언제 만날까? 언제 볼까? 아니 엄마 이따가 봐.
Ooh, Mom, thanks for sending me the snacks and stuff. Don't touch the stuff in my room, as you know. Also, if you can still, I know I'm not on the insurance anymore, but if you can help me reserve some dentist appointments, I would appreciate it. Thanks.
프레스캇 mom, 안녕하세요. 저는 데이비드입니다. 나도 if you can send me stuff, that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Is there any good thing as a half Korean?
Scientifically, people who are more genetically diverse are healthier.
I think that's like a super interesting question. I think there's more levels to it. In order to properly answer that question, let me go back into the childhood and the psychology of it all.
We're getting into it.
Yeah, now we're getting deep. I grew up in a place called Oceanside, California.
So California.
So California, yeah. It was so diverse. It was like a melting pot. So the school that I went to school with white, black, Mexican, Samoan, Filipino, everything. When you're young, you know, you're naive, you're kind of ignorant, and kids are mean. Kids are mean. But that's how we grow. It doesn't mean kids are like racist or evil. It just, we have to learn. In my group of friends, I was always the Asian kid. People call me like Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee.
Me personally, I grew up in a suburb of Boston, which actually has one of the lowest rates of racial diversity in the entire United States. So like 99% white people. Growing up half Korean, like you said that, what's your name?
I'm David.
Like,
Nice to meet you.
what's my name?
It's like preschool? Prescott?
Prescott, exactly, Scott. You can say Prescott. Yeah, so like David said, when you're younger, and especially in America, like your racial identity is a big part of who you are.
Yeah, when you're young, you deal with that. People are gonna make fun of each other. People are going to, you know, be mildly racist. If you let it really affect you, then it's gonna do damage. But if you can kind of overcome that, then all of that changes. So for me, I didn't really understand what race was. But then there came a point in time where finally I just started to accept who I was. And I started to really love the fact that I'm half Korean.
A beautiful half Korean flower. You bloomed.
I bloomed. If you can turn it around, be confident, and kind of like mental jujitsu it, then you can become higher than that, and other people will start to respect you more too. Now I love myself. Now I love the fact that I am half Korean and half white. You should too. No matter what skin color you are, no matter if you're half Korean or whatever, once you begin to love yourself, then that shines, you know?
BTS, love yourself.
Yeah, it's so true though.
Being Korean, when I was growing up, nobody really knew what Korea was.
True.
Even I thought the Korean language was the same as Japanese and Chinese. I just thought they were all the exact like same grammatical structure and words. And because in America, Chinese food is popular, Japanese anime is popular, everybody knew who Chinese and Japanese were. I kind of felt like I wanted to be Japanese or Chinese. I was like, because nobody knows Korean. Even my little brothers, they all wanted to be Chinese because in America, you watch kung fu movies, you watch anime. So you can identify with Chinese culture, you can identify with Japanese culture. Nowadays people know Korea because of BTS and all that stuff. But when I was growing up, nobody fucking knew what Korea was. I didn't even know what it was. I thought it was like the same as Japan and stuff.
Man.
As I grew older, I thought being Korean was unique because I had a lot of Chinese friends. I had some Japanese friends, mostly Chinese friends. I thought being Korean made me even more unique. I never hated being Korean. I just thought it wasn't as cool as being like from a country that has anime or...
Yeah, but it is true what he's saying because back in the day, we're talking young, and of course when you hear it now, it sounds super ignorant, which it is. Yeah, people, I had friends that would be like, hey, are you Chinese or Asian? I'm Korean, North or South?
Yeah, North or South.
So long story short, the original question, is it good to be Korean or not? Now, absolutely yes. Absolutely, it's good to be a Korean, it's good to be whatever ethnicity you are because that makes you special, makes you unique.
So, as a half Korean, what is Korea to you?
It's a country situated on the northeastern coast of the Asian continent. Korea is actually subdivided into North and South Korea. South Korea has a population of 50 million
Get
people.
out of here, Doug.
One out of every two.
Korea, that is a hard question. My
One
second
word?
home and the place where I'm able to figure out who I am as a person.
No, there's something in my eye. One word?
I'm getting emotional too, man.
I don't know. Like Korea, what connects me most to Korea is the food, probably. So
The food culture is incredible. Yeah.
in one word, that's pretty tough.
But I think there's a reason, like Prescott and myself, we come to Korea. We don't plan to stay here, but we end up staying for a long time because
So
Korea,
many people I know do that.
Yeah, because Korea is a fascinating place to live. It's
It's
full of
comfortable,
opportunity.
it's fun,
so safe.
good standard of living. I'll just echo what David's saying. Be proud of who you are.
Yeah. You're the representative of who you are, so thanks for listening to us ramble on. 만나서 반갑습니다.
Stay
See
lit.
you next time. Come to California.
Also, whoever you are, if you're Korean or American or wherever you're watching this, try and live for a little bit in a foreign country.
Yes.
It'll open your perspective and make you more employable. There's no downsides to it